right, Shalom. Call Haloyim Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that are known as Great Millstone, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. And I'm your brother Mata Zabath, and I want to say Shabbat Shalom to all the Akim and sincere Akwath listening in and learning. And the title of this lesson is going to be The Wild Man, Esaww, has been found guilty. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring out a couple of videos that I'm going to share with you guys behind the screen and just play them in the background. And we'll get some edification, bring out a few precepts, and then close out. So the first amongst a couple of these videos that I have lined up here, first video I wanted to bring out is an old video going back to when former United States President Truman, he speaks about the establishment between the land of Israel and Palestine. And then he goes on to say about his intentions on what he tried to do with the land. And what this is going to do is this is going to further show you why these devils, they are guilty. All right. They have been found out to be liars. All right. They have used their means by their the laws, the unrighteous decrees that they put out as a means to get what they want. All right. And furthermore, they have been blessed by the sword. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to play this video in the background, and Lord's will, this to be edifying.
We got several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. You had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. 49. But don't think that decision to recognize Israel is an easy one. I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates River, and the Arabs wanted to chase all the Jews into the Red Sea. And what I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just for the Arabs.
All right. So basically, in that clip, what President Truman was saying was, you know, that they were responsible for setting up, all right, that land. Okay. Now I'm gonna play this video again, and I want you brothers and sisters to pay very close attention, all right, to what he stated, because this is important. All right. So let me just take this back, and then we're gonna run the audio again. Salakia.
We got several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. You had to take it in small doses. You can't.
Notice he said they had to take it in small doses, all right, because they couldn't just take the land, all right, all at once, all right. And then you have something that's called gradualism, and this is what Esau is known to do. He's known to use the word gradualism. All right. Now, when you go into the word gradualism, all right, and the etymology online, all right, it simply means a gradual method of action. Okay. So within the process of time, you have steps or ridges, as they call it, and you will go to establish something by going step by step until you get to the end result. You see? And so this is what this devil has been using. He has been using gradualism. All right, so let's go back and let's play the audio clip again.
Move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. 49. But don't think that decision to recognize Israel is an easy one. I had to make a compromise with the Arabs and divide Palestine. The Jews wanted to chase all the Arabs into the Tigris and Euphrates River, and the Arabs wanted to chase all the Jews into the Red Sea. And What I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just with the Arabs.
Notice he said at the end that he was trying to find a homeland for the JOWs, right? And at the same time, try to make peace with the so-called Arabs, all right? And this further proves, all right, let's grab this scripture here. Let's go to Ezekiel real quick, chapter 36, and I'm going to start at verse 5, straight to the point. And this is dealing with Mount Seir, Esau, Edom. And it reads, therefore, thus said the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, and with the spiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. And see, when you understand secular history, okay, up until the time of 66 to 70 AD, you have what was called the ancient Roman Empire that sacked the temple under Vespasian and his son Titus. And what happened was they pushed out our forefathers, okay, beginning with you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, who make up the 12 biblical tribes of Israel, right? And what happened was we went into slavery. They sold us into slavery, okay, but they took over the land. Now, fast forward, okay, when these devils came back into power, you had the what was called the Ottoman Turk Empire, okay, which was a variety of not only your Edomites, but also you have some Ishmaelites mixed in amongst the Edomites under their sultan, okay, whom they was set up by. And basically you had another leader by the name of I forget his name. I think he goes by the name of Omen, um, who was one of the leaders during the time of the Ottoman Empire. And basically the Romans, the ancient Romans, they were responsible for changing that land, which was known as Judea. They changed it to Palestine. That's why you have the word Palestine. Okay. And what was happening is you'll have these people today, given the situation that's going on over there in the Levant region, people are, whether they're saying free Palestine or free Israel, whatever the case may be, what they don't understand is that the land is being inhabited by these other heathens, mainly Esau, Edom, okay, which the ones that are claiming to be the Ish people, all right, we know them to be the 1948ers, all right. The 1948ers are, when we say that term, we mean that the state of Israel became a state in 1948 under what they called the Balfour Declaration, okay. And so when you understand biblical prophecy, and you understand why the United States is, always there at the forefront with the Israelis, we'll just say that, all right, is because really, all right, the Esau Edom, beginning with the top banking elites, this is exactly what they want. Okay, this is what they dreamed of. Now, what I'm going to do, bear with me, I'm going to pull out an interview with the a person who was under the Rothschilds, all right? And this individual, um, and this is a PDF, by the way, too, so I don't have it on audio or anything else like that, but here it is right here. Now, this was an interview by Marion Knox, who was interviewed by Ron Patton, all right? And listen to what Marion Knox had to say about these top banking elites, all right? And you're going to see, it's going to show you that they know who they are and they know who we are, all right? So let me just find the actual let's see here. I want to get straight to the point. All right, so Ron Patton, here we go right here. Ron Patton asked Marion Knox, he said, can you be more specific as to the role the Rothschilds play into all of this? Now listen to um, Marion Knox's response to Ron Patton during this interview, right? It says, this is what Marion said, and I quote, well, most people who are into conspiracy know that the Rothschilds are the most powerful family in the world. They are one of the most powerful family in the world, all right? Because you have what's known as the 13 families. But Marion goes on to say, and I quote, but you really don't hear about the details relating to how they have set themselves up to be the king of the Jews. All right, this is coming straight from Marion Knox, which any of you brothers and sisters can look up because he worked directly with the banking family. And Marion goes on to say, and to usher in the Antichrist. All right, it was the Rothschilds who financially backed the nation of Israel so they could eventually set up the throne for the Antichrist in Jerusalem. All right, in other words, because we know pertaining to First John, the second chapter, there's many antichrists, right? Hell, if you are against this truth, if you are against Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, you will be considered an antichrist, right? So Marion Knox goes on to say, and I quote, um, it says here, Salaki, I missed my place. It says, it was the Rothschilds who financially backed the nation of Israel so they could eventually set up the throne for the Antichrist in Jerusalem. And yet, during World War II, their money, resources were used to kill millions of Jews. But these were seen as the expendable Jews from the house of Jacob. Remember, these guys have the audacity to use the Bible as a blueprint to take over the world. And that's exactly what they did. All right. To give you an example of that, you have something that was called the Slave Bible. Okay. Look that up. All right. You also had what was called, there's a book out there called To Eliminate the Opioid. All right. Or the Opium. Salakia, if I mispronounce it. And basically, they tell the truth about how they set up a Frankist group by a man who goes by the name of Carl Anton, and he was responsible for setting up what was known back then in the 1800s. I want to say maybe around 1880, 1885. And what they did was they set up a group that was called the Biblical Destruction Group, which was responsible for removing the 14 books out of the King James Bible. That's the reason why today, when you purchase a regular King James Bible, you only have a total of 66 books. You don't have the full 80 books. Okay. And one of the main reasons why they took the Apocrypha out is because it exposes who the biblical Edomites are, beginning with the so called white man today. Okay. So moving back on in this interview, Maria Knox goes on to say, and I quote, let me give you some background information. On one level, the Rothschilds secretly call themselves the House of David from the tribe of Judah. And the key word there, notice he say they secretly call, but they're not the House of David. We know that, right? He goes on to say, now, Rothschilds translated from the German to English means red shield. During biblical times, the Edomites' fortress was the red rocks of Petra, all right, which back then it was known as what? Mount Seir. But today it is known as Petra Jordan. It says Esau, the twin brother of Jacob, was described as red and hairy. So this information fits perfectly with what survivors have been telling me, that on a deeper level, the Rothschilds are also claiming to be descendants of Esau and thus are really from the house or tribe of Esau. You see? So you got to understand, all right, how these devils operate. All right. And shalom to the Akim. Brother Richard, do I have you as a moderator on here? If not, Salakia, let me go ahead and get you set up here because if I don't, it's all good. Um, Yeah. Okay, I got you. All right. Just check out some of these, people who we don't know that's popping up on board so we can try to keep this, copacetic. But the water to the moderators. All right, so moving on, Salakia for that little interruption by me. So Marion Knox goes on to say what they are trying to do is to get the birthright back from the house of Jacob, who are the real Jews. All right. So the precept that automatically should come to mind, all right, when Marion Knox said that, let's go to Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 16 and 17, which reads, unless there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Okay, so this is what Esau is trying to do. All right, he's trying to get his birthright back, but it wasn't for him. It was never meant for him, pertaining to Romans, the 9th chapter. Right. So going back to the main interview, Marion Knox goes on to say, however, the book of Obadiah talks about the destruction of the Edomites in the last days. Well, wait a minute. Even Marion Knox agrees that Obadiah is an end time prophecy. So that means what? The Edomites are still here on the planet Earth. Vocab Malone. He goes on to say, um, so this leads us to another interesting point. In Revelation 3 and 9, it says, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. And behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet. And then I asked the question, who is the synagogue of Satan? The only logical conclusion I could come up with is the Illuminati Rothschilds. All right. But it's not just the Rothschilds. You also have the DuPonts, the Bilderbergs. All right. All of those top banking families. Okay. The Oppenheimers. All right. You can throw them in there. Even your lower level Edomites. All right. Your trailer park trash. Right. He goes on to say, um, okay, now let's look at some other things. Mayor Amschel Rothschild had 5 sons, and in order to keep the wealth in the family, there was a lot of inbreeding, like what the European royal families did. And one of their hobbies was horse racing, and they were known to be horse breeders as well. And I think this may have given them additional insight into purifying their bloodline. And normally you would think that random inbreeding would bring degeneration to the genetic pool, but they had the mindset to eliminate the weak ones' offspring and save the ones who were strong and healthy. And so this is part of their master plan to improve the genetics in order to have a superior bloodline. All right. So, that leads me to let's get the precept, Psalms chapter 50 and verse 16, because see, there be the same ones to tell you, whether it's in their judicial system, all right, whether when you go to the courtroom and when you get up on a panel, you have to swear on the Holy Bible. There'll be the same ones to use the Bible, but then they don't practice the Bible. So this is Psalms 50 and 16. It says, but unto the wicked, the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hast hated instruction and castest my words behind thee, right? Because you devils don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments. You see? And to go back to the point, when Marion Knox said that they have set themselves up to be king of the Jews and they financially backed the nation of Israel. That's how they were able to get the Balfour Declaration signed in 1948. And make no mistake about it, when you put President Truman in there, he was just a puppet. So when he said in the video that he was trying to make peace, but he wasn't trying to make no damn peace. He was doing what the top banking elites wanted them to do, so that they can be able to gain control of the land, right? So let's get Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 14, because this is what the law says about landmark. It says, right? It says, thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thy inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that Yahweh thy power giveth thee to possess it. And when you go around and you read in Genesis, all right, Esau was set up in Mount Seir. That was his inheritance, Salakia, right? But according to our law, you're not supposed to remove your neighbor's landmarks. And see, when this devil came into power, Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. He used the sword, which was his blessing. Okay. Let's go from there to Deuteronomy chapter 32, real quick, and verse 8, because this was the Lord said, this is what he did pertaining to the nations. It says, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, okay, all the lands. When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Because all the nations before us, they were set up. But what you'll find is when you do your studies, Israel was the very last nation on the planet Earth to be established. That's why we came out of ancient Egypt. All right, we spent 40 years in the wilderness, and then we finally got the promised land. But by then, all the other nations, they had already had their inheritance. You see, it says, verse 9, for the Lord Yahweh's portion is his people, and Jacob is the lot of his inheritance, man. You know? So what did these devils do? Let's go from there to the book of Micah, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at the top. And it reads, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. And when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. All right. And how was it in the power of these devils' hand? Because once again, Esau is currently ruling. The earth was given into his hand. Job 9 and 24. Also, 2nd Esdras 6 and 9. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. All right. And when you go into that word world, it goes back to the Greek word eon, okay, which goes back to ages. So we in the time of the end of this age that the Edomites are currently ruling in. Okay, verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, in houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. So that brings me to the very next video that I'm going to play in the background. All right, dealing to the situation that's going on over there in the Middle East. Take a listen.
Siobhan in Washington, thank you very much indeed. Well, along with the very real and violent war on the ground, there is also a fierce information war. Case in point, Tuesday's explosion at the Gaza hospital, which Hamas says killed hundreds of people. Israel says it was a misfired Islamic Jihad rocket, which they deny. Hamas says it was an Israeli airstrike, which they deny. But tonight, Forensic Architecture, Earshot, and the Ramallah-based NGO Al-Haq have shared new information with Channel 4 News. They say cast doubt on some aspects of Israel's account.
Now, basically what they're saying in this video is due to the latest news information pertaining to that hospital, all right, that was struck in Gaza, new evidence has emerged from the Israel Defense Force that they did indeed do the actual airstrike in the hospital. Now, listen to what they say.
Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson. It derailed Joe Biden's Middle East visit. It started a raging global debate. The explosion at the hospital in Gaza City on Tuesday night and its bloody aftermath. Tonight, audio and photographic analysis sheds new light on what happened. First, the audio analysis. This comes from a consortium of prominent NGOs specializing in human rights investigations. Earshot investigators have analysed two aspects of the blast which killed so many at the Christian hospital. First, Doppler effect sound analysis of the missile tracking to the hospital that night. It's the compression of sound waves as a moving object is accelerating towards you, and that object is emitting sound, and then as it's moving away, that frequency decreases, that pitch decreases. That analysis produced this mapping. The red line is where the Israelis said the missile was fired from by, they say, Islamic Jihad from within southwestern Gaza. But this new Doppler sound mapping analysis concludes that the missile came from a variety of possible firing points, the blue arrows, all east of the hospital, not west, as the IDF claimed.
So based off this audio that they are about to show, when they did the testing and they were able to track it, the Israeli Defense Force originally stated that it came from west. They had nothing to do with it, but all signs point from the direction that it came from, the east, where they were dwelling at. So let's continue on.
That map arose from this Doppler mapping of the audio of the missile flying to impact at the hospital. And that sound, recorded by a geolocated eyewitness 150 meters southeast of the hospital. The second aspect examined is the tape released by the Israeli Defense Forces. The IDF says it is two Hamas operatives discussing how an Islamic Jihad missile fired from in Gaza malfunctioned, causing the hospital explosion. 2 nights ago, we reported that Arab-speaking experts raised questions about the tone and language of this tape. The forensic sound analysis states, quote, this recording is made up of 2 separate channels and demonstrates that these 2 voices have been recorded independently. These 2 independent recordings have then been edited together in a digital audio workstation, such as Pro Tools, Logic, Audition, have added effects, such as pan control, and recomposed. That being that.
So in other words, if I got any brothers on here that's into music production, in other words, Esaww hired a producer to take 2 different audio components and merge them together and add in effects to act as real evidence to prove of that missile actually came from out west. So they failed miserably, man. They losing the narrative.
Their analysis, what do they then conclude? Though this audio analysis cannot categorically state that the audible dialogue is fake, we can say that the level of manipulation required to edit these 2 voices together disqualifies it as a source of credible evidence.
So in other words, the actual audio tape, because they found it to be manipulated based off the effects and everything, all right, that they added into the audio, they pretty much dismissed it as a reliable source of credible evidence. So, Esaww, you've been found out, man. All right, you guilty as guilty charged, man.
Esaww's opinion is that this recording does not meet the standard required for evidence and should not be used by the media without the clear caveat that it has been digitally manipulated.
Right, because what ended up happening was mainstream media, your Western media, what did they do? They took the recording and they ran wild with it. They took the recording and they just ran wild with it without doing their checks. Right? So let's get a precept. All right, because see, hey, this is wicked as hell, man. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And though he humble himself, he go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And though Islakia, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. So you can't trust these devils, man. And Esaww, remember the JW double O's, they run the media. They run all the news stations. So of course they're going to put out what they want the masses of the people to know, right?
We turn now to the image analysis carried out by Forensic Architecture at London University. They conducted 3D resolution of the impact strike crater and shrapnel splash marks in the hospital car park. Those radial fragmentation marks open towards the southwest, with the shallow channel leading to the crater from the northeast. Their conclusion matches the audio analysis of the missile track.
Now, isn't it ironic that the technology that they have, that they can track which direction from the debris of the missiles, where it came from, this and that, but look how long it took them to find out Tupac's murder. You see, this is the level of deception, man. All right, this is what we're working with. This is what we're dealing with, man. Esau, Edom.
They say whatever hit the hospital car park that night was fired from the northeast and not from the southwest of Gaza, as the Israeli Defense Forces claim.
We also shared this with an independent weapons and explosives expert that corroborated our understanding of the likely direction as coming from the northeast.
Mm-hmm. They stress this is a preliminary investigation, and they, like many, call for a full inquiry, unlikely in the heat of raging war. Hamas and Islamic Jihad have so far offered little evidence to back their claims that Israel fired the missile at the hospital that night. Islamic Jihad claims to have a missile fragment, but have not produced it. And the US agrees with Israel's version of events. We've approached...
Of course they agree with them, because they backed them up, man. You know? So, hey, you know, so let's get this last video and then we'll close out. All right. Now this guy, he could be a Jake. I'm not really sure, you know, got to try him in the spirit. But listen to what he says.
So let me get this straight. You wiped out the natives in America, hired Chinese immigrants to build a railroad, and when they were done, you dressed up as the natives, chased, hunted, and unalived the Chinese railroad workers. You enslaved, segregated, and massacred blacks, dropped napalm on civilian villages in Vietnam. You unalived hundreds of thousands of innocent Japanese civilians when you dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Started the war between Iran and Iraq, funded both countries, and made sure that they were unaliving each other. Staged the 9/11 attack, invaded Iraq based on a lie just so you can steal their oil. Invaded Afghanistan, took control of the opium fields so you can distribute it in black and brown communities. Took out Gaddafi because he didn't want to use your currency. Instead, he wanted to make the African continent stronger. You started the war between Russia and Ukraine. And now you expect us to stand by you and your white supremacy mentality when you say, I stand with Israel? No. Free Palestine.
And see that, you know, and he doesn't know any better, because it's not about freeing Palestine or freeing Israel, because as we said, all right, let's get the scripture. This is Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 6. And it says, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. All right. So the prophecy tells us that you're going to have heathens dwelling within our land in these last days. Remember, Luke 21 and 24 talks about until the times of the Gentiles have been fulfilled. So we're in the end time where the times of the Gentiles are finally being fulfilled, because, and you know, in terms of the prophecies, the true biblical Israelites are not supposed to be in that land right now. Okay. The prophecy states that the true children of Israel will be scattered across the four winds. You see? So let's close out with a few of these precepts. Let's get Psalms 58 that Brother Richie had already brought out earlier. This is Psalms chapter 58 and verse 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. And who is the wicked? Habakkuk, Salakia, Malachi chapter 1 and 4, Esau, Edom. And they go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Okay? There's no truth in these devils. Okay, this is what they were set up to do. That's why they're called the wicked. It says their poison is like the poison of a serpent, and they are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear. You see? So there's no way you can get out of it, man. You see? And let's go and see, because the guy that we just heard in that video, notice he said at the end to pretty much free Palestine, but see, he doesn't know the extent to how that land became in the possession, okay, of Esau, Edom. All right, because like I said, that land is being preoccupied by heathens. You see? But this is Psalm 73. And I'm gonna start around verse 5 and 6, because see, these devils have got called out of the audio clip dealing with Israel Defense Force being caught in a lie. And so this is Psalm 73 and 5. It says, they are not in trouble as other men, and neither are they plagued like other men. All right. And see, here it is, Babylon the Great, which is America. They'll be the first ones to go and stick their nose in other people's business and say, oh, you shouldn't be treating the people like that. You should be liberating the people. You should allow for them to have a democracy. But here it is, all right, the Amalekites over there in the Holy Land, all right, they're decimating, all right, those Palestinians. And who's at the forefront backing them up by sending 2 destroyer ships over there? All right, coming across the Mediterranean Sea, none other than Babylon the Great, which is America. It says, verse 6, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, and violence covereth them as a garment. And see, the whole world, Esau, is finally seeing, okay, the as the scripture says in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, the man of sin shall be revealed. And so all the nations are now starting to see the man of sin being revealed. And that's the Edomites, whose coming is after the working of Satan. Right? Let's grab that really quickly. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and straight to the point, verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. And you have to understand, during the time when Apostle Paul wrote this epistle, during his time, it was a time for these devils to be exposed. Okay, that's why I called it a mystery, because back then, this was during a time when Esau was ruling. All right, the going back to the 4th beast mentioned in Daniel the 7th chapter, the ancient Roman Empire. Okay, the empire of the Edomites. Right, it says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. And how is that happening right now? Through his servants, the prophets. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And that's speaking of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his name is Yahushua HaMashiach. When he comes back, he's going to take down this devil. Even him, Esau, Edom, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with what? All power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Okay, and who is the ones that shall be saved? The Israelites. Because 2/3 of our people are not going to make it. Only the elect is going to make it, man. You see? So building off of that, let's go from there to Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 10. Because see, the Lord, all right, he's making this devil naked, man. He's exposing them. This is Jeremiah 49 and 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. And his seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. And this is the reason why you're starting to see a lot of alternative news. All right. They're starting to bring to the forefront the manipulation, the false claims, all right, that these devils have been getting away with murder for over decades. And this is one of the main reasons that they want to do away with the app TikTok, because it's exposing them on so many levels. You understand? Let's go from there. Lamentations 4 and 21, it says, Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, and thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. And they're being exposed right now. And they're not only being exposed, but their own people is exposing them. As the scripture says, they shall make their own tongues to fall upon themselves. So if you cannot see that the Heavenly Father through his son Yahweh Shai is showing us that this devil's kingdom is being ripped from underneath his bare feet right before our very eyes, I don't know what planet you on, because we finally see that this devil is at the end of his rulership, man. You see, verse 22, it says, And the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, and he will no more carry thee away into captivity. But wait a minute. I thought the ones claiming to be over there in the Holy Land, they've been freed. Where it says here that we will no more be carried away into captivity, as he will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom, and he will discover thy sins. And they are being discovered right now as we're speaking. Right? So let's grab this last precept here and we'll close it out. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 36 and verse 3. And it reads, The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit, and he have left off to be wise and to do good. All right. Because he even tells you in the book of Jeremiah, is there no more wisdom in Teman? Okay. Because in Ezekiel, the 28th chapter, it says that Esau, which really it was talking about the king of Tyre, but through the spirit, you can link it to the Edomites today because they sit on the throne, right? But it says in Ezekiel that thou art become wiser than Daniel on the left hand side, that is. You see? But here it says that they have left off to be wise and to do good, and he deviseth mischief upon his bed, and he setteth himself in a way that is not good, and he abhorreth not evil, meaning he detests not evil. And it has been found out that their whole game plan, as we read in the interview with Marion Knox and Ron Patton, is that they're trying to be king of the Jews, beginning with the top banking elite family. That's why they had the Belvedere Declaration signed in 1948 for the state of Israel to become a state. They are not the people. They never were the people. So, hey man, hey, that's the spirit. Let's end it off on this right here. This is Second Esdras chapter 6, verse 7 through 9. And this is what Esdras asked the angel. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, which symbolizes the downfall of taking down these Edomites. That's why Jacob, his name is known as the supplanter, or to supplant. But here's the main point, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. So all you dumbasses out there that claim that the Edomites are not the so-called white people beginning with the top banking elites, well, if you wholeheartedly believe that, that will only mean that the true nation of Israel, the true Israelites, they have indeed one more captivity to go into, because according to the Bible, the last captivity that they will be under is under the rulership of Esau Edom. And by the way, the prophecy states in Isaiah the 63rd chapter that when the Messiah returns, he's going to return to a world that is ran and ruled by the Edomites. So with that, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahawadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, better known as Great Millstone, who rule well. And as always, giving peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children, whom the Lord will have mercy on out of the 12 tribes. And once again, Shabbat Shalom. I'm your brother Matazabot. Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson. Until the next time, Shalom.